It's our weekly sports episode. Well, you might as well call it our infamous podcast about sports and stuff. Where on this podcast, you get to hear a little bit of information about what's going on in the sports world, what's going on in the video game world, a little bit of the technology information, get a little bit of a music knowledge chat. Two of our personal faves that we do on the show, the artist spotlight, and of course the infamous ass of the week. So stick around. You might actually enjoy the episode. Episode 128 of The Pass. I'm your host, BT, back with yet another episode. Almost thought I was not talking. Got my co-host with me, returning.
Yeah, back at it again after a week off.
Back at it again with the week off. I'm kind of staying and running away. I'm doing multiple things as always. As always, podcasts are uploaded using the Spreaker app, and the voices you hear are thanks to the Blue Yeti microphone. Still trying to get that sponsorship. Not playing no games. I talked to my co-host, and we sat down and broke it down, and we will be the first to admit that this is going to be a very weighted, heavy podcast. So bear with us if you got to take a break in between and you got to listen to some other stuff, or just kind of take a break. By all means, if you need to split it up and do sports first and then come back for tech, you may want to do that, because alone the iPhone made major waves, as they would call it. So we'll talk about that along with other things going on. So we're gonna hop right into it. Our first topic is related to, since we did do our picks. Last week I did picks for week one. Had a pretty good week for picks. I actually went 10-4 out of the games. The losses that I had, I picked the Jets. I think the Jets lost to the Bills. Houston lost to the Jaguars. I was picking Seattle over Green Bay, and obviously that didn't work out. And for some reason, I thought New Orleans had a chance against Minnesota. I was thinking Peterson would show up, but as things go, we sometimes get what we get. But the other matchups I had pretty good. So we'll jump into the matchups for week two. I have the page that I shared that you'll see in the show notes will break down who various analysts and folks who are working for different shows picked for their weekly picks. And I didn't realize it or notice it until just now. But Irving, you'll see his empty because he's likely going to be picking today, or he may be picking now while we're doing the podcast. So we'll try to get these rolling. I know for a fact the show will probably go up after. It should be up before the 1:00 games finish, but I can't make any promises. But we have the list here, so we'll go ahead and get into them. We're gonna name the matchups. I'll give who I'm gonna go for, and Dimitri will give his pick, and then we'll kind of go into the next one. And if you give any extra feedback information, welcome to do so. We're not strained for time, so we'll just kind of roll with it. First matchup, obvious. Kind of, I don't know why it's always an unfair matchup of having it, but Broncos at Ravens. I chose
Browns at Ravens.
Yeah, Browns at Ravens. Did I say Broncos? I'm sorry. Thank you. Browns at Ravens. It'll be at Baltimore. I have the Ravens. I'm kind of going with the unanimous.
Yeah, Browns played well last week against the Steelers. However, I don't see them duplicating that performance. So I think Ravens are going to win that one as well too.
Okay. Next up, we have Bills at Panthers. I'm biased, as I always tell y'all week after week, going for Carolina.
I would also go with the Panthers on this one. They're at home on this one, so yeah, I'll go with the Panthers.
Okay. Next up, we have Cardinals at Colts, and I actually picked the Cardinals for that game.
I thought you might say the Colts.
No.
Until Andrew Luck comes back, I don't see myself picking the Colts, so I would say the Cardinals as well.
Okay. All right, then we have Titans and Jaguars. This will probably be where the fun begins. Seeing the Jags won last week against Houston, and it's literally called Any Given Sunday, I can see them going 2-0 to surprise some teams.
I could see them going 2-0. They are also at home as well too.
Yeah.
However, they are still Jacksonville. So I'm just gonna go on the safe side and go with the Titans on this one.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'll let Dimitri know this too in advance. The answers. So I have my picks already typed out for week 2. I'll go back and listen to make sure we have the accurate choosings for teams. So we come back and say, all right, well, here's what our records were after.
That's okay. You can adjust mine accordingly.
Yeah.
With the wins.
to come out even. Hey, the microphone never lies. Next up, we have the Eagles at Chiefs. Probably going to be another one of my wild picks. I actually picked the Eagles in this one.
Eagles did play well last week. Their defense was doing great things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go with the Chiefs on this one. They showed great. Their offense was great last week against New England.
Against New England, yeah, that's true. Speaking of New England, they're playing at St. Louis. I mean, at New Orleans. I'll get these teams right. I'm sitting here looking at logos, trying to like remember everything. But they're playing at the Saints. Something barbaric or dysfunctional has to happen, but I see the Patriots winning that game.
I see the Patriots winning as well too. It's gonna be, the sky's falling if they go 0-2 in New England. So
right, yeah, because I was gonna say we can't put them into the undefeated queue because they already lost week 1. So, Vikings at Steelers. Another one of my surprise picks. I'm actually going Vikings.
Yeah, I feel like this one could actually go either way because the Vikings have a great defense.
Right.
On this one, I'm gonna go with the Steelers because just Sam Bradford's. I think he was questionable. He had a little bit of a hiccup with his injury. So
now, Bridgewater they say that he's out for this. Is he gonna miss this year as well? They haven't really said much on his.
I don't believe they said much on.
I think if I'm thinking of it correctly, I think they had him listed as PUP if I remember correctly, because I know they always try to play it smart with how to handle his status.
They said mid-season.
Okay. Because I know that injury did have its impact in the long haul, so they're trying to just play safe with not rushing him out to play or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So Bears at Buccaneers. I actually chose as much of a rivalry as I want to call it. I'm picking the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I would go with the Buccaneers as well too. The Bears, they played all right against the Falcons week 1. However, it's week 1, so teams aren't their best. So
true.
I'm gonna go with Buccaneers on that one.
Okay. We then have the Dolphins, Dimitri's favorite team, at the Chargers. Something miraculous would have to happen, but I'm kind of going with the field with the Chargers.
Yeah, with my favorite quarterback in Jay Cutler, leading the team. I'm gonna go with the Chargers on that one as well too.
Okay.
Hopefully they don't start off as slow as they did against the Broncos last week. So
that's very true. Jets Raiders.
You make the same mistake as last week and choose the Jets.
Listen. First off, it was I think it was a weird match because you're looking at it as Jets Bills. You kind of had a toss up of okay, take a chance and see what you get. But absolutely not. I'm not doing that 2 weeks straight. I'm going Raiders for this one.
You know how when you take a test at school, like they say the safe answer is choose C if you don't know?
Yeah.
When it's with the Jets, always choose the opponent.
Choose the opponent. Choose the field.
I'm going to go with the Raiders on this one as well.
Yeah. Like I said, it's any given Sunday because, the Jets can have that wake-up call all right, let's actually come play. And you're like, well, why didn't y'all play it? Whatever.
They will, yes.
So this is a rematch from last year. Cowboys at Broncos. It's in Denver, but I'm being really risky in saying, and there's nothing against, I always know because we have someone here and hopefully he doesn't come out adamant. But I'm actually picking Dallas for this one.
It's in Denver. Denver has a great defense. I think that they'll just probably run the ball at Von Miller, just keep the ball running. And so, I'm going to go Dallas as well, too, on this one since they still have Zeke playing. So
okay. Cool. Redskins at Rams. Most of the field picked the I've seen a lot of teams. Looks like a lot of individuals did pick the Skins. I'm actually going Rams on this one.
Rams had a good first week showing.
Shockingly,
I don't know if they can be consistent. However, the Redskins played terrible week 1.
Yeah,
I'm actually gonna think it's gonna switch up. I think the Redskins are gonna play pretty well this week, so I'm gonna go with the Redskins.
Okay. 49ers at Seattle.
It's a tough one.
Very tough. Kaepernick's not. Well, never mind. We're not gonna start that up again. I'm picking the Seahawks. It should be a landslide.
Yeah, I'm going with the Seahawks on that one as well too.
And then the Sunday night game, the late night game is Green Bay at Atlanta. I'm gonna let you choose this one first.
I think this is gonna be one of the best game of the week.
Okay.
Right here, just because they're both really good teams, great teams that could make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Fandom.
It's a very difficult game to call. It's at home.
Mm-hmm.
They're faster at home on the turf.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go with them just for that reason, just because they're at home. Otherwise, I would probably say Green Bay, but I'm going to go with the Falcons.
Okay. I also chose the Falcons for that game as well. It's something. I mean, you got one of, as I call him, one of the truest gunslingers in the NFL. Bad terminology, I know, but one of the best passes in the NFL for Aaron Rodgers. But also you got Matt Ryan. As long as Matty Ice show up, you should.
Julio Jones as well too.
Right,
so.
with Julio. I mean, if you have a healthy Julio, works wonders for Atlanta, yes. And I think that's the key component. And the Monday night game, Detroit at the Giants. I know most people would look at it. I mean, Detroit came off of a strong win week 1, but it's in New York, and we always know, even though Eli Manning is one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks in the NFL.
Do you know if Odell's playing?
Odell is still out, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But I mean, you still got Brandon Marshall. It's like, for him, Eli is similar to his brother in the sense that he can make a no-name or any wide receiver benefit him in the long haul. So if he has a wide receiver that's doing his part, he'll be fine. So, I mean, you still got Brandon Marshall. I can't think of the other top key wideouts.
Sterling Shepard.
Right.
And they also got Irvin Ingram, I believe, as their rookie tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So they do have some weapons. Matthew Stafford's been doing well. He had a great first week. He's earning that paycheck.
That money, that money week.
So actually, I'm gonna go with the Lions on this one, just because they've been playing pretty well. Their defense is nice as well too. I have to see something on the Giants before I'm gonna choose them.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, so those are our first picks. These are our picks together for week 2. Like I said, I'll be definitely linking those in and getting all of them written out, because I want to come back and say, no, I don't remember picking that team. So we'll have that broken down and addressed for that week. So week 2 of, I'm thinking, is it week 2 or week 3? I feel like this is week 3 of college football, right?
Yeah, week 3.
Okay, week 3 of college football happened. I picked a bad link. I'm gonna research some linkage real quick while I'm sitting here. But week 3 just occurred of college football. There were some big matches that occurred, top 25. There may be some shakings that occurred. I know Oklahoma brought their regular game, played business as usual. They bumped up in rankings thanks to their win against Ohio State.
From a week ago, yeah.
Yeah, so Tennessee, I feel like this is kind of almost going to be called a Tennessee Weekly for me, because, like I said, I was telling my co-host, a friend of mine is a diehard Tennessee fan. So the week before they played, trying to think of who it was, but they pulled off the upset, not the upset, but they pulled off a close marginal victory. I want to say against Georgia.
Week 1. It wasn't last week. It was week 1 against Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, yeah. So when they beat Georgia Tech, that was like kind of a statement game, and they kind of gave them a good ground running. This past week they played against Florida.
They played against Florida.
I had to remember, because I'm like, it's so many, like, college. So all right, before we continue, and I'm gonna be honest with this. College football has hundreds of teams. So trying to keep up with numerous teams at one time, and it's like, all right, you got to break down the top 25. It's like, all right, let me remember who played who. But yeah, I do. They did play Florida, because they're starting to kind of get into their. In college football, you get non-conference and conference blended in together. I know Alabama had a coast game against their initial
Colorado
opponent.
State.
Colorado State, yeah, that was a very challenging game.
The Florida and Tennessee game was nice, as you were saying, just because at the last second, the quarterback for Florida
threw a Hail Mary,
a 60-yard pass, for a touchdown. It was a dime too. It was right on the money. Right,
and I mean it went the way the script went the way it did. The better team won.
It was 20-17 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And the game ended up being 20-26, so it was definitely an interesting fourth quarter.
Yeah, huge change of events in that game. So breaking down the top 25 from what I'm able to gather, I did get a different link. If you need, I just cheated. Well, I ain't gonna say cheated. ESPN is more simpler in explaining it. Clemson did what was expected. They played against Louisville, slaughtered them, to say the least.
Well, I think it was better than expected, because they slaughtered them. I thought they would still win. I didn't think.
You think they was gonna clear them?
I didn't think they were gonna clear them like that. No, because Louisville scored 7 points up to the third quarter, up to starting the fourth quarter when they scored 14 points.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it wasn't a close game whatsoever. And because Lamar Jackson was actually on pace possibly to be a second-time Heisman winner.
Mm-hmm. Might have disappeared now after that. Yeah, because because most times if you have one or two losses, you kind of end up cleaning yourself out of the Heisman consideration.
Plus, you also have to have that statement game to like win the Heisman. I feel like there has to be like that statement game.
And this could have been that.
Would have been that.
Yep.
Baker Mayfield, if he continues on with the season that he's had, one of his statement games was against Ohio State. Him running around the field with that flag and then planting it in the middle of the Ohio State field.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a good game. Also, the quarterback for USC as well too.
Yes,
they've been playing well. Also,
USC has been a quiet 3-0. Yeah, they played quiet. I mean, they've kind of kept it. I mean, it's quiet, but it's not quiet. And the only reason why because it's Pac-12. Anytime you talk, because we're only 3 weeks in.
Yeah,
we're kind of at that. I won't say wall, but we're in that unique position of teams are going to get seeded without being seeded because we're looking at who are going to be our 4 teams when we get to the playoffs.
Yes.
And it's always a toss-up because you know for a fact the SEC team is going to make it. Yeah. Depending on how the schedules and seasons go, an ACC team has a chance.
I would say ACC team, generally they've made it just because usually either Clemson or Florida State will generally make it just because they'll make that run.
Exactly.
Generally, not always, either a Pac-12
and then a Pac-12.
Pac-12 team generally. And either like a Big 10 or Big 12 team.
Yeah, because then
two out of those three conferences, one of them will make it in. Like 2 of those 3 conferences will make it in.
Yeah, then you run into what you call I want to say your small ball, but it's like those teams who can get in
outside of the power conferences.
Right.
Those are very hard because they have to have a very
strong resume.
Out of conference resume.
Yeah,
and it's definitely hard to come up with that and win those games too.
Right.
That's the difficult part. Just to win those games.
True. All valid statements addressed. Like I said, most of the top 25 didn't really change too heavily. Ohio State's still in there saying they're 2-1. They still stayed in the top. Huskies. So the interesting matchup in the event that it occurs is going to be Washington and USC competing with each other. Depending on how I'd have to look at their schedule and kind of see the likelihood of them running into each other. Georgia's undefeated still. They always make a solid mark, but then it comes down to once you really get into your true conference play.
Because SEC, they always beat up each other. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I mean, in Alabama's case, if Alabama can coach, and I hate saying coach, but if they can come out of the SEC with unharmed, unblemished, that says a lot. Yeah. So there's that factor. TCU is always that quiet underdog. Mississippi State, they've been playing pretty good. I don't have this story listed, but it's very relevant. Texas A&M, if I'm thinking of the right story, the Texas A&M coaches caught a lot of scrutiny.
You are, yeah.
From some fans, and it's kind of turned into it's gotten out of hand. It's a lot.
He was getting death threats and stuff like that, was he not?
Yes, he was. So like I said, I'm throwing stories because it's so much that has happened with college football. Because there was a big push. They did address that one of the players did flip off one of the fans, one of the Aggies fans during halftime. Must have been a message stated. I actually, since I just brought it to my attention, I'll go ahead and favorite that link and add that to the show notes as well. Yeah, that's kind of like an overview. It's not that I'm dodging or not really getting into every single story with college football. It's just so many things have happened within a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so we're taking a wild course in a good way. And this is kind of it was a statement story. So let's see. Last week it was 2% that I had because I kind of had a little bit of downtime and an opportunity to do so. I watched a little bit of tennis. And I normally don't watch tennis talking about it, but it was on. It was an opportunity, some downtime, and it's hey, I'm learn something new. Let's see, kind of get a feel for what's been going on. So last weekend, I believe I did the podcast. After the podcast recorded, these stories broke related to because the women's championship is usually on Saturday. Men's championship is on Sunday. So on Saturday, Sloane Stevens, 24-year-old American, won her first major for the U.S. Open. She was unseeded. Initially had been ranked 957 at the start of the summer. She was initially had foot surgery, confined in a wheelchair early in the year. Was able to kind of bounce back and play solid tennis from what I was able to watch of most of her games. Because a friend of mine, I'm kind of like introducing her. I ain't gonna say introducing her to sports, but it's certain sports that it's like, hey, I watch football, I understand football. I watch basketball, I understand basketball. But then I'm like, I watch soccer, and it's like, well, how does soccer work? How does it break down? So tennis, we was happening to watch tennis, and this is one of the matches that was on. She played against Madison Keys, beat her 6-3, 6-0. Match lasted an hour. She was very emotional during the match, and it was a big deal because she didn't expect that she would win the amount of money that she won. So her reaction was very
genuine,
very genuine, and it was very her. And the long story short, it was basically just a huge turn of events for her to make the run that she made. She told Maddie that she should retire, saying that she wanted to go ahead and just retire right out, like just get this win and walk away.
Because it's never going to be better than this,
right? Because it was one of the peak points of her moment of shining. Like she literally, you can tell when someone, it's like you win a championship and it's your first championship, and you're like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be reserved or I'm supposed to be excited. She just kind of let all of it just hang out and just say, screw it, I'm gonna just be me.
Mm-hmm. It was actually crazy that they both even made it there because they were both ranked so far out.
Right.
Just because the other person, Keys, was also dealt with some injuries as well earlier in the year. So it was just phenomenal that they both made it there, and they're both actually friends as well too. So
right. Random side note, because I was looking at her play. Sharapova made a slight run for a few. I don't have it as a story, but she did play, and there was a lot of tension, a lot of friction with her playing because her coming off of the doping allegations and things of that nature. So wanted to address that as well. I know that's like 2% story, but she did. I think she made it to quarters if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. If you want to do research on that, it's just going to be at your own leisure. And as the term was confirmed, because I always had to remember between glass, because let's see, we have grass, there's clay, and U.S. Open is just on regular. That's hardcore. Okay.
Yeah, it's just
so the king of clay, as they term it, Rafael Nadal was able to show that it was his time to shine by winning his third U.S. Open. In the men's singles side, he won 6-3, 6-3, 6-4 against Kevin Anderson. And I'm sorry, before I continue, because I know this question is going to be addressed, and since we're in the tennis realm, I'm going to go ahead and address it as well. Venus had a pretty good performance. She didn't really play to her best, I guess, as we all are obviously aware. Serena just had her baby, so everyone's saying, we ain't really talking about much anything with it because Serena wasn't out there. So
she's still on leave right now.
Right, she's still on leave, making that money, chilling, because Nike's still paying her, so I ain't mad about it. But actually, so this was Nadal's 16th Grand Slam, second most all time, behind, oddly enough, Roger Federer, who did win his 19th earlier in Wimbledon. So if anyone who knows tennis, anytime you talk about tennis, you always talk about Nadal and Federer. I don't know why. I don't know how I lost the name that fast. But Federer, Nadal, Murray always comes up as a big name.
And what made this one big was because it was on a hard court. It wasn't on clay like usual for. Yeah, because
most of his clay game, he's a beast when it comes to playing on clay. I can confirm.
I was trying to look for the stat. He had an amazing stat. It was like 57-2 or something of that nature. Yeah. It was just ridiculous what his stat is on 79-2.
Right.
Which is, it's probably never going to be surpassed.
Unrealistic. You're not going to touch that anytime soon, even if you tried. I mean, that's just what he does. And let's see. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he is number one as of right now.
Yes, he is number one.
Yeah. So, because usually him and Federer kind of go ping ponging back and forth between Djokovic.
Yeah. And he's just celebrated his 30th birthday as well too. However, it seems that he's slowing down a little bit just because he's been in the tennis game for so long now. Right. It feels like he's been in there for
Forever, yeah. It's only, I mean, it's been a few years,
It's been like 12 years now.
Right.
Because he's been in it since he was, 18? So it makes sense. And he just puts in a lot of effort. You can just see it on him.
Yeah, you can see him. It's no, as the term goes, it's no holds barred when it comes to him playing. So we'll kind of be, we're kind of swinging gears into even more 2% since I just addressed it earlier. UEFA Champions League just started last week. I'm going to tell you first and foremost, I'm not going to go over every single game because there are so many teams that played last week. So they were playing these aren't first legs. These are just actually matchups within their groups. Okay. Each team has, I'm not sure if I went over that in one of the episodes. I probably did, of course, because now that I've renumbered everything, it's in a different format. But one of the episodes was addressed as far as the teams who were named for what group they were going to be a part of. Yeah. One of the big stories, the big uproars was Group H, because they had Real Madrid, Tottenham, Dortmund, and Apoel in the same run. So it's kind of like making it, hey, y'all won the championship last year, but here's your prize for winning the championship. You got to go through this tough
group. Stacked for.
Right. So most of the matches were played over the week. Chelsea dominated Qarabag in their matchup. PSG did pretty good against Celtic. They won 5-0. I know Neymar had a pretty solid performance. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he scored a hat trick in that game. Barcelona played Juventus 3-0. Barcelona beat Juventus 3-0. Atletico and Roma tied in their matchup. Man U won against Basel. Real Madrid, speaking about them earlier, beat Apoel 3-0. And Tottenham beat Dortmund 3-1. Liverpool tied with Sevilla 2 apiece. And a friend of mine was telling me about the game as it was being played. Man City beat Feyenoord 4-0. So
who would be your favorite to?
So I'm biased. So to be biased would mean I'm picking Chelsea to win, but
taking Chelsea out of the field.
Yeah, taking Chelsea. If I had to push Chelsea to the side, I really would say unless something dysfunctional happens, I feel like we're going to see the obvious matchup of Real and Barcelona again. I believe Barcelona I don't think Barcelona made it as far last year, but I know they were in the run. Okay. But Real Madrid was the winner last year, so unless something crazy happens, it's theirs to lose. I know that's kind of like a direct way of saying it, but that's just from observation. So as matches occur, I will be doing my best to try to share them without going too out of control, because it was match day 1 and 2. I believe we won't be addressing this again until October. When 3 and 4 occurs, which would be the 17th. They have a couple of games on the 17th and the 18th, so we'll get to those matchups when they occur. So I always try my hardest to get away from the basketball stories, but when fun stories like the Top 100 ESPN comes out, it always draws a conversation.
Definitely.
So we're going to bring it up later on, but I'll bring it up now a little bit. As anyone knows, in most video games, in the gaming world, one of the things that a lot of people take personal is ratings and rankings.
They do take very personal.
So when NBA 2K released, or was about to be released, a lot of people found out their ratings, and a lot of people got attitudes and got in their feelings. And I feel like we talked about that on one episode. I don't remember. May have, may not have, but the same occurs in the NFL when it comes to Madden ratings, which, I mean, as anyone knows, it's not your actual rating when the season, like that's what they start you out with. It changes based on your gameplay. So if you go out and play good, then you should be fine. Yeah,
I've seen some videos of some NBA players finding out about their 2K rating. Like, okay, I can work with that. And then like we'll get it up by the end of the season.
Yeah. Or you have a John Wall who's like, no, I don't feel I should be rated this low or this high. And it's like, it turns into a bunch of fun conversation. So I did initially have the tab. I had 3 tabs for 76 through 100, 51 through 75, and 31 through 50. After looking at the breakings and the breakdown, and then I realized that 1 through 10 and 11 through 30 were finally released, we both came to a very unique conclusion, which I was surprised by and didn't even think about, because when you brought this to my attention, I was surprised in not factoring it in, that we left Jimmy Butler out of our top 16.
Like, he wasn't even thought of, which was...
reasons to that to some degree though. Like I think it's because we're looking at Jimmy Butler from Chicago, or are we looking at Jimmy Butler as to how he would be in Minnesota?
Yeah, we're looking at it as how he was in Chicago, and last year wasn't a great year for them and all. So,
and that's probably why it wasn't addressed, because if you look at it, they didn't make playoffs last year.
They did make the playoffs. They lost in the first round.
Oh yeah, that's
to
right.
the
That's right.
Celtics.
That's right. Yeah.
So they barely squeaked into the playoffs, and then they lost to the Celtics. That's also why someone else had fallen as well too.
Yeah.
In the ESPN rankings, however.
Right. Now did Kyrie? We talked about this too. Kyrie had a low rating.
He did. He was ranked 25.
Okay.
We both had him in our top 15.
Top 15. Yeah, top 16.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had him in my top 10. I can't remember where you had him at.
I don't remember right offhand. I
believe you had him in your top 10 as well too.
I had him top 10.
So yeah, it's definitely surprising that they had him outside the top 25. I definitely don't think that. No offense to Mike Conley, I think he's a great player. I don't think he's better than Kyrie, Norris, Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
There's a few players on here who are above him. I just don't think are above him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're gonna bring this topic to the podcast because it was addressed with me while we were at work, and it caught me off guard because I know the third party who would have addressed it isn't here to speak his part, but we'll speak to make it universal because I guess there was a misinterpretation of whose side I was on when I was actually just going over information. There was a discussion of I'll let you lead it, and then I'll come in and see how we'll address it accordingly.
So at work, there's me and a buddy of mine that we always have sports talks, and so the conversation always starts here, and it ends up way over here, right?
Right.
So that conversation started off as because Kyrie got traded to the Celtics, right?
Yep.
And because he was saying that Kyrie's gonna be averaging 30 points a game.
Okay.
And I said that's possible.
Yeah.
However, he's gonna be playing with a less talented team than he was before 4, so now he's gonna be the primary target. So not a lot of people are gonna be guarding him like as so. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in which case, I was saying how his third best player on his previous team, which was Kevin Love, is better than the second best player on his now team.
Okay.
Which is Gordon Hayward.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And so then we got into that topic. I was of course debating Kevin Love, and he was of course debating Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
And just in terms of an overall player, like who's better? Like, say if you start a team with, say, Kyrie and Kevin Love, or Kyrie and Gordon Hayward,
right?
Who would you start with, kind of?
I mean, from my perspective, I would look at Love for the long term because Love,
especially if they're the same age and whatnot.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, you're looking at all right. It's always a bad. These are the fun conversations, and I need to go back and look because I wonder now that you mention it. I guess we need to look at their rankings on these lists because I know
he's four ahead. Gordon Hayward is 20, and they have Kevin Love at 16. Actually 26. Okay. However, they also have Hoodie Melo at 64. So I'm not putting their rankings into.
Yeah, because Lonzo Ball's ahead of him and hasn't played the game yet.
That's another thing. I don't think that they should be ranking rookies at all on this list just because they haven't played a game yet. Like, you never know what can happen, how they play. I would say just wait for them. I
need to look at the breakdown because they explain to you, let's see, for the 7th year in a row, ESPN is ranking the top players in the NBA. Who will be, so that's what the factor is. Who will be the best player next season? So they're looking at it, projecting next season that they feel like Lonzo would be better than Carmelo. I don't know how.
Based off of what evidence?
That's the problem. So I guess they're forecasting the season. Like you're looking at it as we don't have any information. Like when you think about when you pick up a rookie, let's compare a rookie that's in the States versus a rookie that's overseas. Nikola, whatever his name is, that went to New York. You don't have any footage. We really didn't see a lot of footage about him, but he was a lottery pick. He went ahead of De'Aaron Fox. He went ahead. He went ahead of Malik Monk. He went ahead of Dennis Smith. He went ahead of a lot of big names that you would have looked at and said, "What is this guy bringing that these guys aren't bringing?" So, I mean, you're looking at it. That's kind of how these are being looked at, which means you're going off of Lonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz,
Ben Simmons,
right? Ben Simmons. I mean, Ben Simmons was in the bottom barrel. So I mean, you kind of already knew. You don't really know what we're gonna like because we still have yet to really know what the process is yet with Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So that's where that question comes into play. I personally, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I always know this as being the case. I'm gonna get back to. I know we dodged the Hayward love story, but I'm gonna get to that too. You can never order players in the right order, especially like ESPN. ESPN does the best job that they can.
And to be fair to them, the way that they do it is they're giving. They justified it. They said that they're giving 2 players, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're supposed to say who's better out of those 2 players,
Right?
And they just go from there,
right? And you kind of just break it down into like a whole matchup. Because I mean, you look at it and factor in Patrick Beverley's number 50. Patrick Beverley has done what for the NBA other than he's as far as defense, very huge defensive threat. But a lot of times that's what we look at, or how the tangibles are broken down in the NBA. Sometimes you look at it as I'm looking at this player for what they offensively have done versus what they may have defensively done. Because if I'm looking, go ahead.
And I'll say, as you're saying that, they also have like Danny Green, I believe, ahead of Melo.
Yeah.
They also have Harrison Barnes, who couldn't show up in the 2016 finals, ahead of Melo. They have a couple of questionable things. But
so I mean, now look at if you look at the top 10, they gave you a nod because they put Kawhi Leonard ahead of Westbrook, Steph Curry, James Harden. I'm surprised. Well, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised because Chris Paul's number 8.
They have number 8. I thought they had him at number 7.
Let me double check.
Number 7.
Okay, they did. All right, so
They're
I'm looking at
a lot of respect
because I'm looking at the list
above James Harden.
Yeah, because the list is very unique. Because I mean, you got Green, Giannis, Harden, Paul, Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis is always that prospective. Like, we're looking forward as to what he can bring to a team. Yeah. And I mean, I think the toughest part about it is he would have to leave. He would have to leave the Pelicans to get over that hump of like really being. I mean, because he's elite, but it's like it's an elite with a question mark, I guess.
Yeah, it's like how elite are you if you can't like win where you're at?
Like even DeAndre Jordan's number 30. Like DeAndre Jordan is known for missing free throws and randomly dunking over people, but now he doesn't have Chris Paul, so we got to see how he's gonna look having someone getting the ball to him.
Yeah, it's hard to compare and contrast a lot of different players with different skill sets and different ways they play the game.
Yep,
and different things that they specialize in.
Yeah. So to return to the Love and Hayward story. Both players, if you really go back and look at it, because you keep in mind and factor in, Love has a couple of years on Hayward as far as being in the league.
Yeah, he's 29 to Hayward's 27.
Right. And you also have to take into account Hayward and Love had similar situations. Hayward was with the Jazz, trying to get the Jazz over the hump, but he was in his rookie contract. I appreciate what the Jazz have done for me. I've gotten y'all far. We've gotten to the playoffs. We got out the first round. We beat the Clippers. We ran up against, of all teams, Golden State. It's time for me to make some money. He could have made money in Utah, but is it going to come down to making money or getting a chance to win? Yeah. So there's that factor. Then you look at the other side of it with Kevin Love. Kevin Love had, all right.
He left his nice spot where he was getting the stats.
And
he was getting the glory for the stats to go win.
And he won. So here it is now. Everything changed. You have Kyrie Irving in his, I want to demand to leave Cleveland, and everyone saying this, and hearsay is being presented, when in reality, I just personally believe Kyrie Irving was tired of being second fiddle.
It happened before with Kobe.
Kobe, yep, Durant. I mean, of course, with the Durant and Westbrook story, a lot of
players. First fiddle though.
Yeah, that's what still is surprising about that trade. But I mean, as I always say, he made his best. He made his decision based on what his choice was.
And to put into some context, the person who I was debating against called Gordon Hayward the Great White Hope as well too. So he may have been a little biased.
He was and I will always give someone benefit of the doubt. If you're biased for your reasons of your player, I have no problem with that. But then the other side of it is, am I really gonna sit here and say, hey, Gordon Hayward's a good player.
Yes.
I feel like Gordon is he's gonna average 20 to 25.
Do you think his points are going to increase this year?
I'm trying to look at
Kyrie's and his points can both increase this year.
No, they both can't. It's tough. I mean, it's a challenge because you. All right, so you look,
especially since they're new to a team together,
right? Because you gotta do chemistry. You gotta look at, and then you have to look at how guys who are already there, where their minutes are gonna. Because everything comes down to minutes, and it comes down to clock. I mean, team management, things of that nature. Because you have their rookie Tatum. You don't. I mean, I feel like Tatum could possibly start, but this will be a challenge because of positioning. Because Hayward's a 3, Tatum's a 3.
Yeah. So they'll probably
they may have to swing one of them to a 2. It's really no certainty. Then you have Al Horford, who we don't know who we're gonna see what game
because he's consistently average. He always averaged with like 14 and 7. So.
Right. So I mean, you look at those factors, and then because of this trade, what a lot of people aren't thinking about. No offense to Marcus Smart, they don't have a bench.
That's what I was thinking as well too. They're less deep than they were last year, and that's what also made them as good as they were.
Yeah, because I mean, you sent Jay Crowder went to Cleveland.
Olenek left too.
Yeah.
Amir Johnson left too.
Yeah.
Avery Bradley left too.
And of course, I mean, we can't forget the cornerstone. You got, I mean, even though he was started, Isaiah Thomas, by him not be like having those pieces turn and change.
He was part of their edge just because he was so smart. He was part of their edge.
Exactly.
So now they'll have to change it up. I don't know if Kyrie will average 30 and be as efficient as he was last year because he was one of 4 players in NBA history to average 25 points a game and be in the 50-40-90 club.
Okay.
So I don't know if he'll be able to do that again, and Gordon Hayward increase his points as well too.
So do you see him? All right, this is a 2-part question. Do you see him being an MVP candidate?
I can see him being an MVP candidate if he proves me wrong and actually goes out there and balls like say Westbrook did last year.
Okay.
He can have that same type of effect as well too.
All right.
Maybe a little bit different since he has Gordon Hayward, so he'll have another All-Star in his team as well too. Mm-hmm. But as long as he gets them in the top 1, 2 in the East, and he's leading that team,
okay,
I'd say so.
Okay. Now the second part. This is the wild card. Do you feel like him and LeBron will be in MVP conversation?
LeBron, it's very difficult for him. Just because he's LeBron, he has to live up to his own standard. He set the bar so high that now he has to pass it. Because to be honest, he should have had like 7 or 8 MVPs. Jordan should have had like 7 or 8 MVPs. Yeah,
for redundancy of the league, they will never give the MVP how they should give it in most cases. And I'll
like best season. Like
because I'll explain why. And we can go. We can go there because I don't mind saying it. Steve Nash and those 2 MVPs he got, no.
Shaq definitely should have got one.
Right. Because it just was how the NBA was. It was one point when Garnett had, and I was fighting as a Minnesota fan. I felt like it was one year Garnett could have got regular season MVP. They didn't get out in the first round, so it was okay. We're not giving them MVP. And the following year they did get out the first round, so they gave him the MVP trophy.
But I don't think LeBron will win another MVP, to be honest, unless he just does something spectacular. Mm-hmm. This season, possibly maybe like one of the last seasons that he could actually win MVP would be in the conversation for, just because Kyrie's gone, he's the best player that LeBron's ever played with. Because D-Wade was better than Kyrie.
But Wade was on a decline,
Yeah, he wasn't in his prime during that time.
Right.
And he's not going to have Isaiah Thomas for the first part of the season, so he'll just have Kevin Love. It'll just be mainly him, Kevin Love, and Derrick Rose. A couple of role players.
So we'll get to see how Kevin Love looks in this role.
I think his stats will get better.
Yeah. I mean, the tougher part, okay, so I'm going to say this, because like I said, I knew this was going to hit time. This was going to be the conversation piece. Like everything else we talked about, don't get me wrong, huge, big stories. But this was like, anytime this release, it always brings conversation. LeBron, like, okay, Kevin Love is a unique player because he's a power forward, but he doesn't play on the block often.
He used to play on the block more when he was back in Minnesota.
Yes.
He was also a little bit heavier at that time as well, too. So he's lost some weight as well.
Yeah.
He still does a lot of the other things of his game, still good. But he's lost some of his game just due to the fact that playing with LeBron.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do as much, but he still does a lot, though.
Yeah, but I also will say this, too. You don't get many power forwards in his gameplay that can he literally can create a one-man fast break off of a rebound. And not many players can do. I mean, they were showing these. It's like old school highlights they showed of like Wes Unseld from when he was playing with the Bullets, where he would get a rebound and literally the ball was down the court in like no time, and he was still leading the team, as like one of the biggest names of the Bullets, and one of the reasons they got one of their only championships. But going back, like you look at Cleveland, and I think people sometimes forget this, and I'm gonna say it with this, and if you want to add more, by all means, like I'm being open and fair in this discussion. yes, Cleveland is a good team. LeBron is one of the best players in the NBA. LeBron is always going to be in top 3. Every time they do this ESPN list, if you go back and look at it, he's always in top 3. I might be wrong on that, but I know this year he was number 1.
No, I'd say he was top 3 in every year.
Yeah. I can see. I really don't feel like there's anyone he could have, and I mean this even if they don't win the championship, they do win the championship, whatever the case may be, he's going to be top 3, hands down. You look at the team that they had last year. We're not going to talk about last. Last year was they pretty much got to the finals, and you were playing against one of the top teams built for force to say, hey, we're going to compete with y'all because y'all win the championship, and this is what we bring, and we brought Durant. It's like you going to the playground, you get beat in the game, and you're like, oh, I'm bringing my big brother back to play basketball, who don't play basketball, but he can play. And you bringing him out to play. And that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, but also, like, I felt like LeBron went into that final series thinking, like, they were going to lose. Like, if you just, like, heard some of his conversations, like, in interviews and stuff like that.
He was kind of he was kind of giving them.
When you're the best player in the NBA, you have to, like...
You got to step up.
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's no excuses anymore. Like, you're the best player in the NBA. You've called yourself the best player in the world. I would say a lot of people would say that you're the best player in the world. Mm-hmm. So you have to step up in times like those. I'm not saying he wasn't going against an all-time great team because he was, but I'm saying you got to step up and like it can't just be about you getting a triple-double and averaging a triple-double and you be like, I did what I was supposed to do. What about everybody else? Like,
and the tough part about it is the year that they won the championship. Everyone will say it's always going to be who won it and how they got to where they were. You really can't put it all on one specific player to some degree because each game, as far as their wins, someone did something different. Like J.R. Smith had a wake-up moment here and there. Even though he wasn't really as consistent, Iman Shumpert had his stints of good play in that championship run.
Defensively as well.
Yeah, and we were just adding to mentioning his name as well, Kevin Love. Even though Kevin Love didn't have like the phenomenal dominant stat line for Cleveland, he was a big part of them winning that championship.
Yeah, definitely. And
of course, Kyrie with the jumper. Kyrie with the key 3, and I mean having him and LeBron have scored 25 apiece in one game. That's not gonna
per game.
Averaging. Yeah, and I mean all of those components. Like it was little things that were brought up because of that series. Now even though they don't like, so we'll talk about this and then I'm gonna let it go. I'm glad that the NBA finally got it right with the jerseys because now they finally are getting rid of the shirts because now Cleveland is keeping the black jersey and they're keeping the Cleveland, the big C on the front, but they're not doing the shirts no more. I'm just glad because I felt like not because of LeBron complaining and whining about it.
He
would tear off each one, but it's like you can tell they're gonna they're going that route, and we'll talk about that. The story for 2K I'll explain something because it's a big story that added to that I'll address as well. So I don't want to sleep on. Like I said, we always like to do the NBA hit, and it's September. Preseason will probably be in a couple of weeks. We may go into that a little bit more, but like I said, I'm on my football and my soccer grind, so that's what we'll be kind of giving you the heavy stories on. So those are all of our sports topics as of now. Answer the week is kind of weird. One of them was weird, and then the other one was funny. But we'll get into that later. So like I said, we're at the tech stories that are being addressed right now. And the first story, which I was surprised that they actually that Apple is finally learning but still trying, is that they brought out so there were a pair of headphones that they had out previously called Earbeats, where they were basically the little earbuds, and they had a headphone. They weren't wireless. They were headphone jack. You plug it into whatever headphone devices, and you're good to go. Mm-hmm. Well, finally, because they understand that they're all by Beats now being under the Apple window. The Earbeats 3 have a Lightning connector.
Okay.
So for anyone who has, which kind of ties into the next story. Well, I'm gonna keep the iOS story is gonna be brief, but the iPhone change that are going on with them not having a headphone jack. They're saying, okay, if we're gonna make headphones, you might as well make headphones with this port because that's mainly the option you have if you're not going wireless. So they went ahead and did that option and have those being released. They're actually coming out this fall. They don't have an exact date for them. They will cost $100. They come in matte gold, matte silver, and and black. So they're mainly kind of sticking to their main universal colors for their iPhones.
I like how you just rounded up to 100 instead of giving what they're...
The 99.95. Yeah, because I mean, it's simple, you know. And they're also stating that they are they upgraded the wireless Beats X, which I had my pair and I literally like threw them to. I ain't gonna say I threw them to the side. I don't use them anymore since I got my Power Beats back. But they're bringing out a new color line for those. Those cost $150 or $149.95. Those colors are going to be also matte gold and matte silver that are coming out. So
you're gonna get yourself some?
Absolutely not. No need. If there were another pair, believe it or not, fun fact, if there were another pair of headphones, our coworker that you were talking about earlier, he has the studios. Those would be the next pair of headphones I would buy. Okay. Only because like my solos that I use now, I love them, but I want like that extra bit of sound or bass or whatever you want to term it. And the solos give you that, but the studios you get like that. It's like a better quality, and it's a difference because I never realized the difference between on ear and over the ear. Like if it's on your ear, it's like okay, you can see it and it's sitting on it, but if it's over, you don't see it. It's like literally covering and consuming your listening. So they have those headphones are being released. So going from something being released to something being removed, iTunes has decided to remove the actual iOS App Store from most Windows own. iTunes brought out an update that you'll no longer have access to the App Store from the desktop. So mainly, if you want to download apps, they're trying to go. I won't use the term innovative because I'm going to overdose on innovative in the next topic. They're trying to go a different avenue by saying everything that people need to download as far as like apps, anything that you would need, is no point in you having access to do so from the computer because you're going to use the program on whatever device it's on. So if you're on an iPhone, on your iPad, then it's better for you to just say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and go to the App Store on the iPad or on the iPhone and just download the app. So they're looking to bring that out, and this is kind of going to fine-tune things when it comes to the new iOS coming out for iOS 11, which comes out on Tuesday. Trying to see if it's any other stuff. Of course, if you absolutely, and then they're trying to also go over the thing with ringtones because they would rather you be able to manage, like some users were used to managing apps and ringtones from the app, but now it's going to be part of a long time anticipated quest to solve the bloated, sprawling mess that Apple's desktop music app has become, because the music app is good, but the music app is not great when it comes to using it on the computer. Like if you use it on the phone or use it on the tablet, it's fine. It's simple. Use it on my phone. Yeah, like if you use it on your phone, it's very thorough. It's very like simple. Like even down to recommending. Like if you say, "Hey, today's Sunday. Here's some songs. Here's some playlists we recommend." Yeah. You try and go through it on a computer. Like it was one time I signed in. I had my iTunes login set up, and they were saying, "Oh, well, we need to set you up with an iTunes account." And I'm like, I already have an account. Why am I doing another account? Like it was like it didn't process the account that I already had. So they're making changes for that. And also you may or may not be. A lot of listeners may or may not be aware, but the iTunes iTunes the App Store is going to have a new look. They're changing that for the iOS update as well. Okay. Now this will probably be my biased / unbiased / brutal honesty about quantity over quality. So, and I don't even, like, I had the tab up just for giggles because I literally wanted to see the keynote. The keynote was, so Apple did their keynote on last Tuesday. Mm-hmm. The keynote was great. The keynote was overrated, and I'll go over that in a moment. It was the initial, because they always make sure when they present their product, everyone they knew wanted to see the iPhone. They always do the iPhone last.
Makes sense.
Because they want you to see what other stuff we're going to be bringing out.
Exactly, yeah. Make them sit for it.
Yep. So they had this at they had it at Apple Park, and it was in one of the buildings that is dedicated to Steve Jobs. It's a nice building. I can tell I got bored with it because I fell asleep near the end, and I'll explain why at that because I always had other stuff going on. But looking at the show, it was interesting.
Did you catch the iPhone part at the end?
I did see the iPhone. I got to see the iPhone. I'm gonna explain my 2 cents. And like I said, the article that I have, like it's an article that I tried to find that had like some information talking about what was taken from it. They really don't give details. I'll try to find a better link that kind of said pros and do's and don'ts and why you may like it, why you may scream about it, things of that nature. But I will say this. Apple is trying to make people think that they're moving ahead, but in reality, they're doing what most companies have already been doing. And I'll explain why I say that. So, and I'm when I say Apple, I'm going to be fair in saying this. This is the iPhone side. On their other technologies, because I had a conversation with somebody about this earlier, and I talk about this all the time with people. So they brought out, so they did it. So first thing they addressed was they're opening new stores. They're going to make their stores more interactive. They're trying to expand on like having the ability, because most people, if you see an Apple store, it's an Apple store. What do they have? I want to go in there and see it and check it out. So most people do that. Yeah. Understood. No big deal. Apple TV is getting an upgrade. They're doing 4K, which a lot of people, 4K is a pro and con because you have to have a 4K TV. We talked about that before in another episode. The Apple Watch series they're bringing out the Apple Watch Series 3, which is going to be 2 models. One is going to be the Apple Watch where it's just a watch and it'll be paired to your phone like normal. And if you do anything, you can manage things on it, like take calls and things like that. But that's it. Like you can still get notifications.
What's the difference between the previous one?
So the difference with this one is they have the Watch 3 without cellular, and they have one that's coming out with cellular. So it's gonna give you the option now. Like if you get a phone call, you don't have to have your phone with you to bring it up. The initial basic watch, the Apple Watch 3 itself, is kind of their way of saying we're getting rid of the Apple Watch. I think it's the Apple Watch 2, because Series 2 didn't really. It caught attention, but it didn't catch attention because nobody really was pressed about, okay, I can take my watch underwater. You really didn't think of that because it's like, it's kind of hit or miss. So they have it where if, like, let's say I left my phone here and I went and drove off somewhere and you had called me, it wouldn't be, I can't get the call because I don't have my phone. The watch would ring like it's a regular phone call.
It'd be like on speaker, so you
right?
Can hear it?
Mm-hmm. So they already had the speaker. They had the speaker option already, but you have to have the phone nearby for it all to work out. Oh, okay. So now having it as a separate cellular option is good, but the question that a friend of mine had, which I'm thinking about, is: do you have to have a separate plan? Is it all going to be part of that same plan? Is it going to impact how does Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, AT&T?
That's in the terms and conditions.
Yeah, how did they come out in the long haul with that money process? So I've thought about that too. So they brought that up about the watch. They really didn't say much about the iOS 11. So I'm BSing the story because I'm gonna wait till I'm gonna get to the iPhone 8 and the iPhone X and tell you where I really stood about it. The iOS update they did, they're adding what's called Animojis, which are animated emojis. So if you move your face a certain way, your emoji will move and all that. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's great, that's cool.
And the face screen unlock as well too, right?
Face screen unlock. So the face screen unlock is only on the iPhone X. Oh, okay. It's not on the 8 or the 8 Plus.
It doesn't have the home screen button as well too, correct?
Only on the X, not on the 8.
The 8 does have it?
The 8, so the 8 still has the home button. Oh, okay. They really didn't make any changes between the 7 and the 8, in my personal opinion.
It's the X that they made a lot of changes.
The X they made more changes, but I'm not paying $1,000 for a phone. I'm sorry. Yeah. There's life, and I understand everyone. A lot of people, because someone brought it to my attention, said, "Well, you can always just get a You can what is it? You can, if you have your plan, you can do the iPhone Forever or iPhone where you pay on it each month. Yeah, I'm doing that now. but I don't see where it's a big perk to doing it.
You don't want animated emojis?
You gonna get those on the iOS. If we got when we get iOS 11, that's going to be included. But okay. I want to double check because I feel like that's something that I'm really not going to use.
Yeah.
So it's like things, and as techies, people have to remember there are things in there, features that are brought up that can get your attention that may look good or may look great, but it may not be something that you desperately need to get, to get by, get over, or however you want to term it.
That's true.
Let me see. I'm looking for one thing because someone brought this. Excuse me. I have friends who are like big phone on phone and battle with devices. So there was a picture that went out, and they put "Welcome to 2015." I'm gonna try to share it with you without breaking anything. And it basically talks about what the iPhone X that's current has versus what the Galaxy S6 has. Now remember, Galaxy is up to the Note 8 now, something like that. Mm-hmm. So they're saying how the size of the camera, the size of the phone, the megapixels, like Android's, the Galaxy S6 had a 16 megapixel, whereas the iPhone X has a 12 megapixel. iPhone is never going to go past, well, I ain't going to say they're never going to go past. They don't need to maximize their megapixels strictly because most people who take phones or take pictures with phones aren't looking for like this radiant, excellent quality. They just want a good picture. Yeah. Android has always done that with phones, with pictures, but that hasn't been their strong suit. And that's to go without saying. Samsung has always had the phone industry under control. iPhone kind of came in and said, "Hey, we'll join it and check it out and see what it's about." And that's just turned into this Apple and Android discussion, or iPhone versus Samsung, or iPhone versus Galaxy, however you want to term it. Mm-hmm. But they broke down like different stats, like the core CPU, how much RAM, the fact that it's on Wi-Fi. They're saying
pretty even on everything.
Huh?
Pretty even on everything.
It's pretty similar. And then of course they threw the huge and the famous wild card because of course the iPhone 8 has, the iPhone X has no headphone jack, while the Galaxy S6 does. And
that's very annoying when you're trying to charge your phone.
It is. I will say to defend anyone when it comes to the non headphone jack. It is a challenge because when I first got mine, I was like, well, how do I do this? But it's mainly their way of saying, don't run out and buy the most expensive Bluetooth. But if you get a Bluetooth, you have it covered. But it's also some people don't want Bluetooth, so I get that part too. Where the iPhone and the Android conversation split is Android is going to be, like I said, Android is known for phones. iPhone is mainly known for what they do in their other categories, such as computers. Like, with my computer now, I'm able to edit. Like, if I wanted to edit content, let's say I was doing, like, your brother's now playing NBA 2K. We'll talk about that in a moment, too. I keep saying it, but it's a lot of reasons why I'm kind of hyping up the 2K story a little bit. Mm-hmm. But you play NBA 2K. Let's say you stream NBA 2K, you record a video, and you say, all right, I want to break it down and do like an edit or a montage or whatever. Android, of course, you can't do that per se because you'd have to obviously put it on a Windows computer, put it on a computer in general. Windows computers can edit and do videos, but most people who do video editing, you'll hear them do it on a Mac. And it's not that I'm saying it being biased, it's just I've always seen that. Yeah. When it comes to music storage or music organization, most DJs, I've seen DJs use Windows computers, but most of them use Mac because they have it. It's mainly for like the fluidity. It's the challenge and it's the battle of what's your preference, and I think that's what always comes down to at the end of the day. Because I tell anybody, I never forgot when I first had Android. I was a G1 user. I didn't have the Android Sidekick, but I had what was it? I knew a friend of mine, he had the MyTouch, like all of those older Android models. Mm. Those were all models that came and went so fast because everyone just knows Samsung. Yeah. So that's how they always look at it as a name. So, like I said, the keynote itself was what I expected. I didn't expect anything excellent or phenomenal. They made a few alterations to like portrait photos. They want to make sure like when people take pictures that it feels like you're in a studio, even if you don't have good lighting. Like it'll try to make up for it on its own.
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, so little things like that is what iPhone was trying to do. Only thing I really wish they didn't do, and it's just not a good idea, is they made the phone all glass. So now that means everyone, I guarantee you the phone when they officially release, someone's gonna have a broken phone. Not even just a broken screen. I'm just gonna project it now because it's literally just how we as consumers, when we think of it like, oh, I'm gonna buy a phone. I got my iPhone 7 Plus. I'm gonna walk around with it. Ain't nobody gonna worry about it. I'm good and I'm all right. Walk just like this with no case.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, oh man, I broke the screen or I broke the phone. We worked because I always joke with girls that used to work with us that her phone literally was like 2 seconds from breaking.
Yeah.
And now it's like, you can upgrade and get a newer phone. So that was kind of like the keynote and the overall view of what I got from it as to what happened. Also this week, and I almost literally forgot about it happening, Nintendo Direct did their unveiling of new technologies and information. They told us about some more games finally coming to Nintendo Switch. Everyone's waiting for the big game. Of course, Mario Odyssey, that'll come out soon. They've given a date for Rocket League to come to Nintendo Switch, which should be good. That'll be coming out in the summer. I'm sorry, in holiday season. Story's not on here, but I'll add it. Next year, the retro, remember the little Nintendo minis? Mm. They're bringing them back again to try to sell because they know a lot of people wanted those, so they're possibly going to be doing that. Okay. They're stating that the mini Super Nintendos are possibly going to be start selling soon or pre-orders. Elder Scroll that came out. We did get some viewage of Doom. They talked about that. Pokemon was... Anytime they talk about Pokemon, you already know that's going to get plenty of people's attention. Pokemon Gold and Silver are going to be coming to the eShop. They're working on trying to get the eShop more under control. They're bringing out a package for Nintendo Switch with different, with Odyssey, things of that nature. Some more Amiibo characters are going to be releasing. Kirby Star Allies is coming out. Have some videos for that. I'm knocking over stuff. I'm sorry. We good. My bad. Mario Party is going to be coming out top 100. I've already talked about Wolfenstein. If I did not, Arena of Valor. But they kind of, like I said, they did like a very simple, direct story, just kind of telling you what's coming out over the next because they do it every quarter to kind of just give you kind of a test and feel of
a breakdown of
what's coming up for Nintendo. So yeah, Nintendo, like I said, normally and they're doing they are looking at doing a possible update for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. A lot of people that's kind of been like the main game that most people are playing on Nintendo Switch. I do like it because it's one guy who works. I'm not sure if he probably will be going to a different department, but he has a Nintendo Switch. He brings like the main base of it and brings it into work, and he'll play it on break. And I'm like, that's a good feature to have because it reminds me of like the portable, like the Game Boys and the Sega Game Gear, stuff like that. So that's that story with Nintendo Direct as to what's going on with them. NBA 2K18 dropped it was pre-released for availability on Friday. Officially drops on Tuesday because I know most availability usually would be Friday or Tuesday. Yes. So Tuesday they'll have the actual game come out to be available to pick up. Some people did do midnight releases, may have gotten it early. I know I'm waiting for mine to come in the mail.
I did get mine. They actually making it earlier than midnight release now. Maybe some places still do midnight release. Yeah. The one I went to, they make it easier for, I guess, the customers as well as their employees. They released it at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Really?
So yeah, it was pretty nice, since I started work the next morning.
That's not bad. Yeah. Like I did it. This is like so random because I think I've never shared this story. I've gone to a few midnight releases, and midnight releases are always fun because you get to meet other people who play the game that you play or are in the games, and you probably, you may link up with people who might get different, give you different perspectives. But 2K, so long story short, 2K18's focus is the road to 99. Yes. Trying to get a level 99 on your player. You have different options on getting your My Player ratings increased between playing park games, playing actual games on for your respective team that you get drafted to or picked up by, or you can do pro-am with other players. You said your player right now is an 85?
86.
86, okay.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's different in the fact that they allow you to make like a primary and a secondary
archetype.
Yeah, archetype, exactly. On the previous one, it was just one, like either he's a 3-point shooter, either he's a slasher.
Yeah,
he's going to do one thing. This one, it makes it a little bit better that you can do multiple things.
Yeah,
definitely a lot of features to it. The ways to get badges and to increase yourself is different than the previous one.
Right.
And also the fact that you have to keep your guy with the energy, so it makes it so you have to go to like a facility to energize yourself. It's definitely more, interactive as well too with the storyline itself. Yeah. Because the storyline continues far out. With 2K17, it didn't continue as far out with it.
Yeah.
With this one, it's definitely very interactive with it, and it also has the, like with Grand Theft Auto, how like if you play online, it has like a little world all on itself.
Right.
This one has like kind of like the same thing. It has a little the playground or the park or whatever.
Yes, I did.
And you're walking around like the streets, and you go to like Foot Locker, go to like Doc's barbershop.
Yeah, I did.
Things of that nature.
I've seen all that, and I watched it. So as y'all know, I'm the stream watcher. I'm always watching them on Twitch. Say, hey, let me check out, see what it's all about. Actually, there's a guy. He probably still online now. His grind or his goal is to try to get to level. He's trying to get to 90. I think right now he's at an 86 or 87. And I mean, it's not easy. But I think they intentionally did it that way so it wouldn't be easy.
Yes.
Because you literally, Street Games, I think he was like 35. 50. He was 58 in 35 or something like that.
And talking about making it easy, you would think some simple tasks, they did make a little bit more difficult in here. Like, for example, changing your clothes.
Yes, I heard it was a process.
I still have not been able to because my closet is not open. So... I'm still in that struggle. So if you know a way, definitely hit us up and let us know.
Yeah. passpodcastbt@gmail.com. So my copy actually, of course, not that we it's not a rivalry thing with us. It just was how consoles was bought. If I had a chance to do it again, I probably would have got a PS4, but I have time probably. But I know when I get my copy, I'm going to play it, get more into it, give it a little bit more attention, and see what it's all about as far as the game goes. Possibly may do some streaming on it. I'm not sure yet. One story that I do want to address that I think before we get into the artist spotlight, they did state that NBA 2K accidentally leaked some of the specialty jerseys. So the teams that, for instance, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the neon green jersey, those jerseys weren't supposed to be unveiled until they were. So NBA 2K did something like a collaboration with NBA because they had Ronnie 2K talk about it, where they had all of the guys. I guess they had a player from each NBA team wearing the new specialty alternative jersey, because each team has 4 jerseys this year, which I think I actually like that.
And you can wear like any one on your home right?
Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, the Cavaliers, like as I mentioned earlier, they have the black jersey similar from before, it's just without the sleeves. The Sixers have the Sixers written in cursive on the front. It's a lot. Some of them are retro, some of them are new. Side story that has nothing to do with anything shared. The Kings, I'm supposed to not be doing the NBA. The Kings showed off their new court. They're actually going with an all black court. Not sure if it's on 2K. I'll double check when I get my copy, and we'll address it on that point. So that's all of the tech talk and everything that's been going on in that world. I may be able to show y'all how to do the closet story because I've seen people figure it out. It's like a weird glitch going on with the closet. It might be straight now, but I'm not sure. But today's artist spotlight, I guess this will be the 4th member of what I would call the Queens of Soul monument, however you want to call it, Mount Rushmore. Today we have Anita Baker. So I posted a little bit of, I kind of gave a teasing because I had her, I was able to go back and listen to some albums because she didn't really have very long career with music, but she's still part of the music scene. But she was. I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna kind of roll into this one because it was like a lot that happened.
Yeah, as you were saying, yeah, she didn't. You could say she didn't have a long career. However, she does have the accolades to for her career.
Yeah.
As of 2017, she's won 8 Grammy Awards and has 5 platinum albums and 1 gold album to her credit.
Okay.
So she has. So she definitely has put on a show. She's from Detroit, Michigan. She was born on January 26, 1958. Well, actually, she was born in Toledo, Ohio, but she is from Detroit, Michigan. She was also she was raised with a foster family, so she was with foster parents who ended up passing away, and she was raised by her foster sister. So she definitely had an upbringing that she had to overcome, but she definitely did show it.
Okay. So at age 12, she began singing gospel choir. She did perform with several local bands back in the 70s. She had auditioned for one of the most popular acts known as Chapter 8. She kind of did low-paying jobs and then kind of found steady work, oddly enough, as a receptionist. Then in 82, Otis Smith, who had worked with Chapter 8, was able to contact her for their label Beverly Glen. They thought it was, she did the, recorded debut album called The Songstress. It didn't really get too very well exposure to become a hit, but it did kind of give her a strong base to kind of get known. And then she signed to Elektra back in 85. She did her major label debut, which was Rapture back in 86. Brought out a couple of songs, Caught Up in the Rapture and Sweet Love. Anyone who knows Anita Baker, if you think of, you wouldn't even have to hear her singing. Just the introduction of Sweet Love, when that came on, you kind of knew that was Sweet Love about to play. And same with Caught Up in the Rapture. She made guest appearances with the Winans, with Ain't Got No Need to Worry, which won her a Grammy. In 88, she appeared. She then brought up the following album, Giving You the Best That I Got, which had the songs Just Because, Giving You the Best That I've Got. It also won her a couple more Grammys. For her third album, she decided she had to handle a greater share of songwriting, which oddly enough was titled Compositions. And that came out in 90. And it featured stronger, it had more of a jazz feel to it. And then following Composition, she took a break from recording and touring. She had her first son in 93, and then she returned back to the studio to work on Rhythm of Love, that released in 94. After that, she was mostly silent, despite her fans, kind of demanding for a jazz album. She then just kind of made focus on family. She began working on her new album in 2000, kind of starting over because, as with anything, 6 years, a lot had changed in the music industry. By that point, in 2000, kind of looking at music then, and I feel like this might be where I have to work on doing Artist Spotlight a little better. A lot of music changed after 2000. Not in a bad way. It was just music was kind of going in a different direction. Right. So a lot of artists, you kind of had to keep up with what that flow was going for. And if you were still stuck on a 90s feel, then it would show with the music. In 2004, she had signed with Blue Note. Was still working on her new album. She released Night of the Rapture Live. And then she returned to the studio in 2003 and did My Everything. And as most artists, she did do a Christmas album. And she made a cover. She did a cover of Tyrese's hit single Lately. And she was her latest or most recent album was in 2003 called Only Forever. 2013, thank you. Me and reading today just aren't working out. I can't read teams. I can't read numbers. Like, it's something. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that's kind of like a brief overview of her musical career. I'm looking to do more with some of the artists, like
spotlights coming up
with a different trend, because I know most of it's been just 90s and like 80s. So I'm gonna kind of move up to the new stage of listening, and I'll throw some wild cards, because I know we did Mos Def and Talib. I know I may have to kind of surprise y'all and do some Kanye. I think I did Jay. Yeah, I believe we did Jay-Z a while back.
Yeah, we did Jay-Z. We did Beyonce as well.
Yeah.
Too.
So, Ass of the week is funny. So the one story that I put was an honorable mention. It's not really an ass of the week. It was just a funny story that I found. Because you know how they do. You know, I feel like Kickstarters are always fun. Before I talk about this, I'm kind of going to resurrect a story that still, it took them long enough. You know, we talked about the fidget cubes and the fidget spinners.
Yeah.
Well, the fidget cube finally has a commercial.
Oh.
But it's not known, it's not like a heavy hitting commercial where everyone can see it. So they basically have like this guy, I don't have his name right offhand, but he is promoting the fidget cube. And he's promoting it on kids' channels. And how they're doing it is they're kind of retooling how the fidget cube looks, because now it's not just a basic cube. They went with like themes such as Batman, Wonder Woman. I was like, if y'all did this before and produced it, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that as a Kickstarter reference strictly because there's a device that is, if you pay $400, it's a pillow that will always stay cold. It's by a company called Muna, they have what's known as a smart pillow pad. Before you use this part of the story is just funny. Before you use the pad for the first time, you fill out a sleep questionnaire. Then over 10 days, the device adapts to your sleeping habits and it'll adjust the temperature throughout the night. So I guess it's a benefit because I ain't gonna lie, most times I sleep hot, struggling all the time. So to have something that'll kind of keep you cool is a good thing. A random story I just received. Tom Brady hopes Colin Kaepernick gets signed soon. He's certainly qualified. I've always watched and admired him. So if Tom Brady says that he gets picked up, is there a possibility that somebody might pick him up?
No, they ain't picking him up. So with this Muna,
that was the best pass ever. Go ahead, you good? I'm chilling.
So with it's like an app that will show you like how you move throughout the night, and it'll, I guess, like record you and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a lot of people have trouble with sleeping different. So I guess it's gonna adapt to you. Yeah. And promise that you'll fall asleep faster and have a deeper level of sleep. Yeah. It depends on how much trouble you have with sleep, I guess. Yeah. $400.
$400 is a lot of trouble.
It's kind of a weird looking device as well too, because it's kind of like
looks like a speaker.
It's kind of like a.
Yeah, it looks like a little speaker that's sitting on your It sits near your bed, and there's like a cord. Looks like it's, I won't say an umbilical cord. That's just rude. But it's like a cord that's like connected.
Well, that's what they called it in the article.
They really do refer.
They called it an umbilical cord. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's an umbilical cord.
Okay, I want to make sure. Like you just like it's, what?
No, I did read it, and they said it somewhere in here.
Yeah, but am I connected enough to the idea to buy one for $400 that looks like a medical accessory with a giant tentacle-like umbilical cord coming out of it? It's hell no. So the unique part of it is, however, if you are interested in Muna's promises of better sleep with a pillow that is always chilled out and don't mind its sheer physical presence, its Kickstarter is offering an early bird price of $249 with an estimated ship date of, wait for it, June of 2018.
These kind of remind me of another product that was, it had a fort in front of it, mm-hmm. and it was sold 6-8 months in advance.
Which one?
Low Twos.
Oh yeah, yes, our favorite shoes.
So if you're still saving up for those, you know.
So that'll be a decent trifecta. You get the low twos, the mellow ones, and the Muna.
Which one you want to spend your money on?
I mean, if you're a big baller, you can get all three. Just saying. So our official. All right. Before I tell the story, I did this story by myself, I think, last week, right? The official ass of the week.
For this one?
Yes.
You must have.
Okay.
So you did speak on this last week?
Yes. So I'll give you the backstory, and then you'll see why I'm laughing about this today. So I was ready to call him Victor Cruz, forgetting that it ain't his name. Senator Ted Cruz, on his Twitter page, was noticed for liking a screenshot from a porn site. So of course, when he liked it, he didn't logically think of the fact that when you like something of that sort,
people watch your likes,
right? And I mean, not just the fact that you're just an everyday person, you're a senator which means that your page has a verified check mark beside it. It means that we know everything and anything that you're doing.
Yes.
So he, of course, when it happened, he deleted it, pulled it down like it didn't happen. And I'm like, all right, you can't really just get away from it. So the story came out now that he didn't do it. It was an intern, or there was someone else, a staffer who the staffer felt bad for doing it. Like, I guess he went on the page and liked the video from his Twitter account. I don't believe it.
I don't either. The staffer feels terrible about it, was one of his comments. If it's me and like as one of my staffers doing that, first of all, you're gonna be let go. Like,
yeah.
Just like on that type of level. So I feel like it was a mistake maybe on his behalf or something like that. I don't know. Like that's a tough one to try to like dig yourself out of that hole.
Yes.
And just the ironic part about it is the fact that like what he's not ironic. It's just funny. It's a funny coincidence with something else that he's been dealing with because he's
about the restriction.
Yeah, about the restriction in Texas. So, like, he spent the comment from him as verbatim. I spent 5.5 years as the Solicitor General in Texas. I worked for the Attorney General. The Attorney General's job is to defend the laws passed by the Texas legislature. One of those laws was a law restricting the sales of sex toys, which is a stupid law. Cruz said, consenting adults should be able to do whatever they want in their bedrooms. I definitely agree with that.
Right.
You take it to another level though once you start liking
once you
porn sites.
once you throw Twitter into it, then it's a whole nother world. Like the fact that I think what makes this story funny to me is the sheer fact that, one, how did the staffer even have access to your Twitter? Now, I know they're in charge of their media accounts, I guess. Right. That's understandable, but there's just I'm still trying to comprehend.
Why is he able to like
Why would you go and not think about as a staffer that if you like something, and unless it's your personal account, you like something like that, that's one thing. But it's another thing when it's a senator's page that everyone, like you, this, because you have to factor in this Senator Cruz probably has millions of followers, more than likely. So a spinoff of this, and this was the internet proving how undefeated they were. In the picture, I don't think it was in the picture that I shared. So there was one picture that came out of the storyline for, I think it was Mario Odyssey. And they had a picture of Mario. So anyone who knows video games, and this is warning if you have kids, I know we're supposed to do warnings on the other part, but whatever. If you have kids and they are Mario fans, they may want to turn away from what I'm about to share because this probably would be graphic, but not really. It's petty more than graphic. One of the screens or one of the scenes showed Mario shirtless. And you know, in Mario World, that's a no-no. You don't see that. It's rare, if anything. So the picture they showed of him was him running, and he had his hat on, and they just showed him like with just a pair of shorts on. Somebody took that screen and put it on the Twitter page. Like they photoshopped it into the page like it was on Ted Cruz's page. Like he had liked that video or like that picture. And I'm just like, things like this are why the internet is undefeated. So this is kind of like a random closeout, and I didn't talk about it because I guess we're about 15 minutes away because I call myself the scapegoat. This will be my closing 2% in information. While I know Dimitri's going to check his, as I've called myself podcasting for my life. Any transactions or changes you need to make on your teams, make them accordingly, and also make sure that you do not keep the wrong players on your team for the wrong purposes, because I've done that a couple of times.
Yes.
I had to get rid of. I had this guy on both teams. I can't think of his name. He was the wide receiver for Chicago. I think he's out for the rest of the season. Kevin White. Yes, I had to get rid of him like quickly.
Or Kevin White.
Kevin White, yeah. So I made sure of checking that. I'm surprised I haven't taken a chance yet on letting go of Doug Martin, even though he's suspended. Got a few more weeks left in his suspension. But yeah, if you have to get your teams in, make sure you get them in. Y'all probably won't be listening to this until it's too late, but either or, that's my tip to you all. Always keep track of your transactions because I'm still learning. So that's all I got this week. Not too bad. An hour and 28. Yay. Proud. An hour and 28 on episode 128. Any final thoughts before we close out?
No. Thanks for listening if you did. Chime in on the Kevin Love or Gordon Hayward if you can.
So Kevin Love and Gordon Hayward, we'll talk about that. I'm going to go back and listen so I can get Dimitri's pick so we can make sure there's no unbiased choosings or selection. And on that note, we're going to end here. Y'all be good. Stay safe. Have a good week.
Have a good one.
Pat signing out. Did you make it to the end of the episode? If so, I do appreciate you listening and tuning in. These episodes get more and more valuable, and I do appreciate everyone taking time to sit down and listen to the episode. Whether you're actually listening to it once it's uploaded on Spreaker.com/Brate Podcast, or if you're downloading it and listening to it on your own convenience. If you want to check out any previous episodes, just check out that page. And if you'd like to inquire or provide any information or feedback or suggestions toward the podcast, please send those emails to passpodcastbt@gmail.com. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Enjoy your day. Have a good week and be positive.